Okay, let's open up the planning board meeting of May 14th, 2013. Motion open.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, gonna say aye?
Aye.
Aye. So the vote unanimous, and for the record, show Bob Kelly and not present. Okay, so introduce yourselves for the record, and then let's show us what you got.
I'm Barry Sir. I live on 119 Main Street.
Jeffrey Sir, 119 Main Street.
Kathy Bissell, 119.
Yep.
121 Main Street.
Mike Murphy, 121 Main Street.
Okay, and you're here for lot line adjustment, what I understand?
If that's the description. Both of us have single dwellings, but the town has given it a condominium status because of the land and
Okay.
frontage.
Can you show us what that is on a plan? Any kind of plan?
Okay, well, why don't I just give you all these?
I think the way I understood it, they both use the same frontage on Main Street.
What's a common drive? How old's the,
Common
how old's
drive.
the dwelling? Another one.
Mine was built in 1950, and I've been there 19 years.
Okay,
And our building was built in 1770.
And we've been there
since then?
20-something
Yeah,
years.
You look good.
Very good.
So really, basically what we want to do is just change the
Condo
condo
status.
status to 2 single-family homes and just have
Hmm.
an easement for the
Now, when was,
driveway.
so 1950, let's see, predated zoning act, pre-existing non-conformance,
Yeah.
so that covers, that's
What
good.
that was, there was a house there, and then the previous owners, way back, built
Yeah.
a kind of a flower shop. And in the back, they had like a nursery.
So it's here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
And,
no longer there, though.
then
So
later
could you
on,
just point out where you live
the
on
flower shop was converted to a house.
what year?
It was,
Well, it would be 19 years.
1994.
Something like that,
Yeah.
95, 95.
yeah.
This is my house.
Yeah,
In the garage.
yeah,
This is common land.
yeah,
This is the easement. It's a common drive,
okay.
okay, which we've been using. And then Jeff's house is here.
Now, who did, was this just a survey?
No,
plan?
this is a registered survey by
Right.
Meisner, I think.
06. And what was this done for?
Just for my own benefit.
Oh, okay. All right, so the plan of record, does anybody have the original plan when this was done in 1950?
I think I do.
Hand drawn and everything?
Uh-huh.
Okay. This was done in 90. All
So
right,
that's not the original thing.
all right, but, Main Street,
But
right,
you probably see the difference in the structure of the system.
yeah.
What's the square footage of each lot?
It's only 122
That's what we
feet
got
of
in our-
frontage
in our deeds.
for a total of 12. So, well,
We do have the condo docs that we amended. They don't even exist.
yeah. Now, when the place was converted from the Posey shop over to a single-family dwelling,
Mhm.
okay, was that issued by the building inspector? Did he get a
Yeah,
building permit?
of
And that was
course.
in 19,
Well, I've been there
90.
19 years, so this is 2013, so,
okay, so 93?
yeah.
So what did he use?
92 maybe.
92. And then why was it a condo dock?
Because
Common drive?
the common drive plus the frontage wasn't enough
Right.
on that 119.
Right, did anyone go before the zoning board?
No,
This
we
was
didn't-
done, this was done before we bought it. In order for him, the original seller, in order for him, he couldn't sell the whole thing,
Yeah,
so he figured he was able to sell it by splitting it up.
yeah,
So we had nothing to do with it being turned into a condo. It was that
Right.
way when we bought it, so we
Yeah.
don't really know,
so you don't know and you don't know,
About why?
yeah. If anyone went before the ZBA
We never did.
and you don't know if the builder did.
no.
And so you're both, all this, you folks all moved in after this whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you wanna separate the 2 single-family dwellings, what's the reason?
Well, we don't want it to be a condo status anymore, we want it to be single-family home. I mean, when we try and sell, it's gonna be considered a condo, and it's really not.
It's not at all.
See, we both
You
have
the
our own
condo
septic and we
dock?
have our,
Yes,
I have the condo docs right here.
yeah. Let's see what that-
I mean, we can basically do what we want according to this, as long as Jeff and I agree.
Consider it a condo.
So, it's just the land
You have a common
configuration.
drive.
Also, for them to even entertain to divide it into two separate lots, they would have to give variances for frontage and.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, because,
They have
because
a
a
lot
pre-existing non-conformance prior to the zoning act, when when the building actually went up, the internal structure changed, but not the external structure. Okay, so then somebody wrote a condo doc, which is very interesting, probably for the purpose to write a pass and repass. Because they're not even attached buildings, right?
No.
So the only thing you share is a common drive.
Right.
Yeah. Either of you have an attorney?
No,
Well,
I do.
I mean, if we
Well, we
need one,
have
we
one,
can get
yeah.
one.
Yeah. Did you talk to them about dissolving this?
Yes.
And what did they say?
He said as long as we can get an agreement between both parties, then it should be able to be done.
Yeah, okay, that sounds pretty logical, because this condo doc really has nothing to do, it's kind of like a separate thing. How this got in here? I mean,
Well,
other
we
than the right
both-
to pass and repass and who's gonna plow?
That's back in the day when they were doing some of those condexes.
Yeah.
And I think that skipped in when the few of them in this town happened. And
Yeah.
now it can't.
Right.
But I think at the time, there was a few of them got done, but.
Do you have a copy of the building permit?
oh, no,
Alright.
I didn't bring that with us, I didn't think it was pertinent.
I was just wondering what it said.
Yeah.
Construct, did it say like renovate, remodel?
Well,
I don't-
I don't remember.
Be interesting to see what that said, this is kind of weird.
Because we had to have the sign-offs by everybody.
Right, right.
You know,
I think, this may have been out there to protect you at the time. It's not really required, other than what I could see, because we have issues with common drives right now in that room.
Yeah.
Okay, it just popped in, but we always have issues with common drives, which is why the town of Groveland Planning Board doesn't like them. We try not to approve them at all costs, because they breed problems later. And,
well, see, we've been there for so long,
Yeah.
and it hasn't,
It's not so
Shown
much
any
you, it's what
difficulty.
happens later.
Later, it's,
And,
you're fine and you're fine,
yeah.
and together you're fine, but throw something else in the mix, and you
Yeah.
never know what happens. But when you're doing a new subdivision, you don't have owners yet. So people get in there expecting X and Y happens. So it's very interesting the way it goes. I think your attorney can resolve this status. Because this structure was up previous to the zoning act, I think you're covered there. So you wouldn't have to go into the ZBA to get a variance to the frontage. But most likely you would have to construct, if you don't come to some kind of agreement with that driveway, you may have to do something with that. I don't know where your vehicles
pretty much
are.
decided, we're gonna, have that common driveway widened, because I have pavement in the front, so that would give a wider entrance.
Is there any way you might consider like one on one side and one on the other side? I don't know how your layout is.
It's pretty narrow in here.
Yeah.
We possibly.
I don't think so.
It's pretty limited, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. If you widened out the driveway, how wide would it be?
Say the driveway was this,
It's about 10
Wide.
feet now.
Or does 10?
If I'm guessing correctly, I think is that right? It's about 10?
yeah,
Hot top?
it's
No,
all
it's a loose
well,
gravel and
yeah.
stone dust.
Oh, so that's easy.
Yeah,
So
But I
how
would
much
be-
wider would you go? 10 feet?
no, I would add the, like, part of my frontage to the drive, where it's asphalt, so it would be a wider entrance, like.
The apron going in, you're talking.
Oh, you need the roundness,
Exactly,
okay.
exactly, because Jeff has a telephone pole, which is kind of in the
Essentially
way.
on the right side of the driveway,
So-
or even encroaching upon the easement is the telephone pole with the curb, so. If I was to really adhere to the way that's drawn, I would have to
Mhm.
drive over a section of the curb.
Right.
So, we're looking to deviate from the plan such that it does give us an easier access in.
Okay. So your purpose before the board is to see if you're okay to dissolve the condo?
I think we've come in agreement
Yeah.
just to get some counseling and to get some real guidance and direction on what
Oh.
the next steps are for us at this point.
Well, I would say from, and we pass this thing around to look what you got. The good news is you get a lot that's in existence prior to the zoning
Right.
act, so that's good news. So you're protected that way. So that takes care of your frontage issue. This condo doc, this is an agreement between the parties. Plan. This agreement between the parties, and one or both your attorneys can easily get rid of this and put in its place, what were we talking about the other day? It's an agreement between the parties, but it's not a condo doc, it's like an easement, it's like an easement, so you'd have a common easement,
Mhm.
and it'd be an agreement with the easement.
Right,
A covenant, okay, to run with it, so the rights to pass and repass, so it'd be like a single page document instead of the book
Okay.
that you got over here, and your attorney can draft that up. If he needs planning board sign off, I don't see a problem with that.
great.
We're not seeing an issue at all. If you wanted to increase the width of your driveway within your own property line, that's not a problem at all, you can do that. If you needed to deed land off or put a line in, what we call the lot line adjustment, okay, that you would just have your engineer do and then come back in and we could do it, but I don't see a reason for it unless you wanted to do that.
Okay,
I mean,
Yep.
well, at least we know, now what to
Just,
do and
just
where to
for
start.
future reference, it's like when it passes to two other couples, whatever, that's where it gets a little hairy.
Well, mine's in a.
If one
trust,
wants
I can't say.
to repave, whatever it, and the other one doesn't,
Mhm.
that's where you get into some.
Right.
So
So
it's
you're.
almost like, that kind of language has to go in there somehow, some way.
Yeah, even the
Both
maintenance.
are obligated.
Yeah, the maintenance, plowing, that's typically what's in that
Keep it
cover.
up.
What?
Maintenance, plowing, improvements, how it would be done, an easement, let's say one of you wanted to pave, would the other share the cost, that kind of stuff. So that's typically in a covenant, but your attorneys can help you
Right,
out with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's agreement between the
And we've
parties.
been dealing with it for 20 years
Yeah.
already, so.
Yeah,
That's been more or less the easiest part, to be honest with you, over the last 20 years.
what's been the hardest part?
My refinancing on occasion,
Oh,
one of the
because
big
it's
issues
condo?
with,
Because it's
yeah,
condo.
it's
See,
been,
that-
comps are almost impossible.
I think, somebody tried to protect you back in the day on this thing here to do the right thing, but I think looking back, it may have been the wrong
Here's
vehicle.
some.
Yeah.
That was from the appraiser, and as you can see on the bottom, there's nothing in existence,
Oh, yeah.
either in
While
Groveland.
you're up there, can you show me where your driveway is now? Is it between the two houses here?
Sorry. Oh, yeah,
This is the,
yeah. I see your dilemma. With that, I think that's an easy fix.
Right.
Like one of your friends lives next door.
right, so, this is the driveway here?
This
Yeah.
isn't this is paved area,
Yeah.
right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one is kind of, there was a parking lot out there.
I would,
Cozy shop.
which one of you's got the attorney? You do?
Oh, we have one too.
Okay, good. Then, yeah, I don't think they need planning board sign off, but if they request it, just have us bless it.
Thank you.
But I don't think it's necessary on that, so.
Super.
This
Yeah,
might
'cause you
make-
parties,
this-
you agree,
All
so-
I would ask is going forward, that it's a document that it's not just between you two, but future people that may
Yeah.
live in each one.
It's a covenant that runs with the land.
That there's wordiness in there that things are gonna get taken care of, jointly shared and taken care of by both parties.
Okay.
Because we got one right now that is a real doozy. And we got so many problems with it, it ain't funny.
And it's a fairly new place,
Yeah.
so. So think in the future, if you're, 5, 10 years from now, if you were a new buyer, I think your attorney can brief you on this, but, if a new person was coming in, what would they wanna see? And what would they wanna be secure about? At the same time, for you folks, if you wanted to do something in the meantime, get that pole out of there, somebody wants to pave, or or just add more stone
Mhm.
or something like that. So protect yourselves, but looks like you're in agreement anyway. And then dissolve the covenant
Now,
and
how
put it in place.
I mean, what is that final step? Do we come before the town to dissolve?
Depends,
like, get
typically
dispensation?
your attorney does that and files that on a record,
Oh,
and then it
okay.
goes to the assessor and other town departments to get record of it, and then they would record it in the registry to, because that's where they pull the data from.
Right,
I
okay.
don't think that he would require planning board sign off, but again, if he requesting that, just let us know.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll help you with that.
Well, thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the good news is that you would have had trouble if it was like a 70s or eighties
Exactly.
build, but it was before, so.
All right,
you'll
great.
stop. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you
in.
all.
Oh, you're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
So we get the hearing for Groveland Fairways.
Great.
Continued hearing? That was an easy one.
Yeah, the date out.
Before you get new
No,
owners.
the covenant runs the line.
So,
Okay, motion to open up the hearing, continued hearing for Groveland Fairways.
we will never do another one.
So motion.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, so the hearing open at 8:03. And, where were we when we last left our heroes here?
Mr. Chair, we were in a couple of places. We scheduled Lisa Mead, Black Dombrowski meet on behalf
Yep,
of the
yep.
applicant. We were scheduling a sidewalk which occurred,
Yep, I saw all the mistakes.
and then there were a number of items that were outstanding, and I've addressed them in this letter. Essentially, we had to resolve issues with screening with the adjacent abutter that we wanted to talk about. There was a technical correction to the definitive plan. It was the last item outstanding on the peer review. We had to obtain a traffic count.
Yeah.
And there was the board hadn't taken a vote, but it was clear that the sidewalks were wanted, so we needed to add sidewalks to the plans. And then I included the waivers, so we didn't have to address that. And then the amount for the affordable housing contribution. So first of all, let me just address the issue with the proposed screening. There was some discussion last time that we used the existing, and it's my first attachment, there's a sketch plan that Millennium did. There was a discussion about using the existing trees that are along 7 Star Road, but because of the condition of the trees and they're close together, and if you separated them, they would be
A mess.
a mess. What we proposed, the applicant, George, has been working with Mr. Monday. I don't know that they came to a complete agreement. We thought we had, but what we propose on here is what we thought we had in an agreement, which are 29 trees along the property line as noted, 6 to 7 foot tall green giant arborvitae trees to be planted and installed no later than 30 days after the expiration of the final appeal period for the project. So that's what we're proposing, and we would suggest that that become a condition in the decision. We also had a traffic count, and the results of the traffic count are also attached behind the plan. There was an automatic traffic recorder in place on 7 Star Road, approximately 300 feet south of 7 Star and Broad Street intersection on May 9th and May 10th last week. Given the volume of traffic over the day, it appears as though the proposed development will add approximately 77 vehicles per day, and the existing count was 1,702.
What
and
you
that's
thought, huh? That's,
a little bit more than I thought,
yeah, it's
but-
not a dent in the increase, but it's always interesting to get those
Yeah.
traffic counts.
So the peak, and Taylor put together a little analysis of the statistics, but the peak of between 2 and 3 was 75 vehicles, and then the evening peak occurred between 5 and 6, and that included 92 vehicles. So it's not, interesting. So we did that, and then in addition, I contacted Elsa Campbell, who has been at DHCD forever. She's the head of she's the program coordinator for LIP, that's the local initiative
Yeah.
project and HOT programs. So the affordable housing, single-family home in Groveland is $234,000 now. So the calculation based upon section 958 of the zoning bylaw is you take the difference, you take half of the difference between the market rate unit and the average of the market rate units and the affordable unit, and that difference is $108,000, take half of that, or $80,000, whichever's less, according to the bylaw, and so there'll be a payment required of $80,000 to the town.
Okay.
And that's what it's been on the last three
Yeah.
that we built in the last
Yeah.
8 years,
Okay.
80,000.
Really, 80,000, huh?
Canoa Estates paid the 80, and there was another one too.
Yeah. It's funny, it was, in 2005, I think the affordable price in, I don't know if you remember when the single-family home 40B was proposed over by the reservoir lake. Those units were gonna go for 180, but that's how much the affordable price has gone up since 2004.
Wow, 180 to 234.
Yep. So those were all the outstanding issues that GZA had pointed out, plus that we had discussed. So we still are looking for the two waivers which were discussed at the last meeting, which it appeared as though everybody was okay with. And that is the rounding at the intersection and the cul-de-sac landscaping waiver. And we believe that that is it.
What are you gonna put in on the cul-de-sac and stuff?
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically what it is the cul-de-sac typically requires the 24-foot pavement rounding.
Yeah.
And then about 2004, you added an additional detail, which on top of that required an 11-foot strip of cobbles. So as a maintenance issue, it becomes maintenance, and we intend to have this accepted by the town for public so the town will be required to maintain it. Instead of the cobbles, it will essentially be grass.
So that's not waiving landscape, that's adding landscape.
It's waiving the requirement
For
of your
cobbles.
detail A in the rear.
So in the cobble.
Correct.
So your typical tree and shrubs and grass, what's the diameter thing?
The diameter, outer diameter of the pavement is 110.
Okay, so you get plenty of room to
Oh, yeah.
do a grass strip
Yep.
and then some shrubs in the middle and
Yep,
that sort of stuff. Do
absolutely.
you have a detail of that, or are you gonna get one?
No, right now it's just proposed to be grass landscape.
Grass, okay, but that's required in the plan to have a detail of the, it's a landscaping plan?
Yeah, we don't propose anything in the middle of the cul-de-sac at this time.
Okay,
Proposed grass.
We propose
okay,
grass, exactly.
so, okay,
We do have the trees that are 50 feet around the perimeter as required. And in addition to that,
why don't you show me that landscape
Yep.
plan? So, answer my question, I don't know if
Yep.
anybody else has got any. I know the detail with the cobble you're talking about, and that was.
Yes. you know, it looks nice, but it, you know, for a few years it tends to get, somebody froze the layer. Do you have any previous plans? We do, we have, the previous set of plans have, trees every 50 feet.
I'm just talking on the gold.
We have grass.
Okay, you gotta do something with road grass.
What would you
Typically
like?
trees,
Bushes,
shrubs,
shrubs.
you know, what kind of tree and shrubs around, because if you maintain it grass, first of all, nobody mows it really, and then it looks hideous after a while.
Take
So
a
this is
ride,
just a
Personal experience.
preference by the board, or?
take a ride to Canoa Estates and see how they did it, and also, Mr. Maroney got one Groveland Road on,
Well, is this something that can be conditioned to be,
We could
you know,
add it to the-
evaluated just during the process? I mean, we can certainly add it to the milers if you want, or come up with something.
Well, it's required to have a landscape plan
Yes,
in the definitive,
I understand that, and what I'm,
that's no landscape plan. You're missing
it's
the
gonna be
sheet.
grass, what we have proposed for landscaping is on the previous set, I can pull it out. It's trees every 50 feet along the right.
No, but I don't mean, okay, I'm not talking along the right of way, I'm just talking in the cul-de-sac itself, a landscaping plan.
We can.
you're making a little island.
Yes.
In the middle,
Right,
yeah,
It's gonna be
exactly.
grass,
We
that
want
is the
some-
proposed.
Okay,
want
so a condition,
bushes,
I see what you're
trees.
talking about.
Yes.
So you want a condition to submit an architectural landscape plan for the cul-de-sac.
To be
Representing
approved.
plantings.
Yep, as we get there, because a lot of the, you know, it's probably gonna be going hand in hand with a lot of house development, so that specimens remain consistent, things like that. But, I would just, there's not, I mean,
Yeah,
certainly
so-
requirement-
Opposed to be final as built.
Well, not final as-built, you gotta have a landscape plan before you start, but to be submitted
Yes.
as another sheet, so. And typically, you know, you do, you have 15 feet of grass to absorb all the snow and the sand or whatever, and then the rest of it inside is mulch and.
No, and
center
that's
tree.
fine, we have no problem meeting that, it's just, you know, we were just following the regulations, if that's something the board would like to see, we can certainly.
Well, I think the regulation states you gotta have a landscape plan. Grass isn't considered a landscape plan that I know.
Okay, that's fine.
So, well, and make a condition to provide a landscape plan of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Review and approval by the board.
Yeah, 'cause the shade trees are pretty.
Yep.
Right.
Now, what did you end up on the shade trees? You're putting them on the property side, right, so we don't.
They're on the property line at this point. You
Okay.
mean the abutters, or are you talking about the right of way?
The right of way.
The right of way, they're, just outside the right of way. Because of
Okay.
where the sidewalk
Because
goes.
typically we, right, Bob, we put them on the, you put them on the property side, one for them to maintain it too, so they don't.
Correct, they are.
Break up the road.
Yep.
But I mean,
Plus
not
we
by a
have
foot,
utilities in the-
I mean, like, we were putting them in, what, 20 feet from the, edge pavement?
Right about 20 feet, and on a few of them, the houses were sold, and we let the owner
Pick where they
decide
wanted.
where they wanted to put them.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because, you know, it's their, you know,
So-
maybe they would've put it
They're
somewhere
maintaining
else.
it.
Yeah, they're maintaining
Street
it.
trees to be located inside the property line.
Yeah,
20 feet you want them.
I think that's what we use, that's an approximate,
Sure.
but you know, each lot's gonna be a little
Right.
different, so we're not gonna hold you to that.
So
but-
on this addendum landscape plan, what you're pretty much concerned with, just to make sure I'm clear, landscaping within the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, because the shade trees are given, just the
Just make sure.
location may change, because if you've got the houses, if they're not all lined up in a row and they have to shift due to
Yep.
construction or something, we're not gonna hold you to 20 feet, we just wanna get them, make sure that, especially, when we were
Right.
putting them before, remember that grass strip?
Yep.
They would rip the sidewalk,
And there's utilities in there.
and
things
yeah,
such
all
as that.
kinds of stuff, so we were putting them onto the
Windrow,
properties.
the snow is the plow and everything else.
Yeah,
Do you want it to be determined as the building permits hold, or how do you want that? You said you don't want it, you don't want them like 20 feet, you know, immediately, so how do you?
no, it can be,
Okay.
it can be.
Okay.
Just saying, we wouldn't hold you to, if you had to go 20 feet or 25 feet.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just not where the sidewalk is and that
Yep.
close into the,
Understood.
you
Yep.
just, you wanna pull it onto their lawn somewhere.
It's a minimum 20.
Yeah,
Okay, I got it.
Taylor,
as long
all
as
you-
two end up per house. I mean,
Yeah.
All your basins, make sure that none of them are in the driveway or
All of
close
them are
to-
located over 10 feet away for the original.
Okay, because we don't allow basins right by the entrance of the
Yeah,
driveway.
I think, actually, if I recall, we had to move one basin after the first review, I think it was 8 feet away, we did to about 12.
Okay. And then how's our, you wanna, any,
I think, they had, my last letter had a couple points, which was the submission of the drainage easement, correction of a couple items. I've got a set of plans tonight, so, but they're
So
very
we said
minor
that-
items, you know.
housekeeping items?
Yeah, housekeeping.
Alright,
items.
so, and then, alright, so how many items are there?
Oh, it was just one number and one of the details, and then adding the sidewalks, and
Yeah,
it was.
and then the landscape plan.
So we added the sidewalks, they're in the plans that were
Okay.
provided tonight, and we
The one
corrected
number
the
was that.
detail.
Correct.
Alright, and then we still gotta figure out the tree line, is that, what are we doing with that? Is that,
Well, I'm working with George right now on that, and what we originally talked about when the planning board came over with the sidewalk, yeah, I guess it's not feasible because of and George, you could explain it better, but we had originally said that from the trees along 7 Star, we were gonna go straight across, it was gonna be between my property and the new road.
yeah,
So it was even with that birch tree, cosmetic purposes.
right,
And George is saying you can't do that because they're gonna be my trees, I've gotta take care of them. And also the angle coming off the road would be right on line with where the trees would be.
okay. So, your new proposed plan, you still working out?
Well, I think that verbally we've come, let's see, verbally we've come to agreement where when I met him on site and we talked about why the larger trees weren't gonna be feasible, because the original plan was to keep them spread out.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, there's no,
growth on the edges of the trees because they're all tied together.
Okay.
So we decided to go with a smaller tree.
Yeah.
And go with a large number of them, you know, there's 29, I believe, that we proposed. I also proposed moving it off, on his property line, right on the edge on the inside of his property line, so therefore he could maintain them and run them right down his property line. And I proposed 29 and 5 feet on center in order to give him, full, you know, privacy.
Right.
Because over time they'll grow together.
Right.
Mr. Monday requested that I bump up the size of the tree from 5 to 6 feet that I originally proposed to to something larger. We came to agreement, verbal agreement on 6 to 7. We also had a brief discussion, as you can see, there's a gap of the trees because of the drainage easement.
Mm-hmm.
I met the existing owner of the property on site and the engineer who I believe had a lot to do with that drainage easement and the actual drainage that's under there, and said that that is actually, for their invert's like what, 6 feet down?
6 or 7 feet.
Oh,
So he said that any type of giant arborvitae that you're going to plant should not have any impact on that as well, even though I believe our engineer stated that that might be a concern. So I wanted to get approval from the board if we completed, you know, filled in that line, right? I created a little bit more spacing between the trees, filled in that line, so Mr. Monday has full privacy over time with those trees as they fill in, so he doesn't have a big gap in the middle.
Okay, and, yeah, 6 feet down, that's pretty good. And what's
And
down
just
there?
to, well, to refresh your
Just the
memory, this
RCP.
came up at the last meeting. It was
Right.
a concern that Peter raised
Yeah,
with the drainage and
but what's under there?
the drainage line.
So it's an RCP, 14,
It's,
20 inch?
24, is it?
Yeah, it's 24 inch. I don't recall the
Okay, I
material.
don't
off
think
the
a
top
root
of my
structure is
head.
gonna crush that. What's the PSI on that?
Well, it's more they often get in the joints. I mean, when I raised the comment,
I could see looking for
wasn't
water.
cognizant that it was
Yeah.
24 inches. A lot of times, if you have a 12-inch pipe, they
Yeah.
can get in the joints and
Right.
clog the drain pipe.
Okay,
It's not something we're opposed to. It was more just a
It
concern.
was a valid argument,
Yeah.
we just
But-
wanted to, we think that
6 feet down, but, and if they, I can see where you took, because they're gonna search for water. But what's the,
I wouldn't
what's
have,
the
I wouldn't
PSI?
have an objection, knowing that it's 6 feet down and we got 24-inch pipe, that they
Yeah.
should be fine.
Okay, but what is the PSI in one of those?
I think it's typically 3,000 or 4,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a matter
Yeah,
of
yeah,
crushing,
it's-
it's
just
a
thinking.
matter
Really
of clogging.
strong.
Yeah, start crushing that stuff, I'm in trouble.
Walter, the rules on an easement is nothing permanent, no structures, trees, nothing on an easement, that's the rules. A tree planted, and after it grows to be huge,
Yeah,
it might not disrupt the pipe at all, but
Mhm.
it's still considered permanent.
you know, I,
Then they would want to replace with something substantial or something. Easements, you just don't put anything permanent on an easement.
I've seen easements recently that they are tree and, going through, because if you need to, you can cut it, I suppose, something like that. And the power lines is a very good example of the easements, they could run down and they have trees on both sides as they kind of move in, so.
So we'll do whatever you prefer here. I mean, we can spread these out, which apparently is,
Well, if that's, actually, the agreement is between you two, we're
Right.
just trying to bless it here, so.
We have no objection.
Yeah,
And-
I have no objection to doing it either way, I mean, really, it was more of an aesthetic thing for Mr. Monday. And
You-
What I'm
seem to
trying
be
to do is
questioning.
I'm trying to maintain the amount of privacy that we have or will have.
So is this an agreement with you, or you agree with that?
You know, well, we're talking about that right now, and
Okay.
I would like to avoid that big gap and go right from the existing trees that run
Yeah.
parallel to the 7-star
All right,
and go all the way down and keep them at 5 foot on center, so that when they do fill in, it'll be more or less a privacy wall.
who maintains this drainage easement? Bob, what department?
The easement is all town departments, the
But who-
highway department is the drains. So
Alright.
they would be the primary one for this
How-
easement.
Okay,
How
so,
much would we have to move the trees to the left, away from my property, to avoid that easement?
I think you can go right over it. So I think your concern is that, from what we get from Peter, is that if they're 6 feet down and this is a 24-foot pipe, we have no objections there, got no objections there. So, and if it's the highway department that maintains this, sign off that that's not gonna cause an issue and you're done, and you can spread this thing out. because we don't own the easement.
So can we say, to the like, a condition that would be something like, to the extent, practical and not, in conflict with the, DPW's
Yeah, just get it
use of
approved.
the easement?
That
Okay.
you can use the easement, put trees on.
Yeah,
I'd like to see something in the agreement that if in the future you have to cut down a 50-foot tree here, that you don't have to replace it with a $10,000 tree, you can just put a 6 to 7 foot sapling in there.
well, they're gonna be
I
on
want
his
the town
property,
to
so
have to
that's
replace
his.
that.
Oh,
Right,
you're
do
saying
you
the
understand?
town, protect them from the town.
What they're,
Well, I
right.
guess the question would be that, who would be responsible? That the highway department has the right to cut down and remove a tree.
Right.
But then who would be responsible
Right,
for the
that's-
replacement?
Well, I mean, I haven't read this, the highway department easement here, but typically the easements are drafted such that, they have a right to remove and replace the grass, the gravel, or the hot top, period. So if they
Yeah.
have to remove things, it's not their responsibility to replace it. So if the trees are gonna be on Mr. Monday's property and he wants them across the easement and it gets removed, he's gonna have to replace it if he wants it back.
And for the record,
My,
what is
my
the-
question is, sorry,
Good.
my question is, the easement, talking with Bob, goes from Seven Star Road and it barely touches the side of my property line, is that correct?
No, cut right through
No,
it.
it goes right through.
Okay, so Bob is saying that it's going,
Here it is, it starts here, goes all the way
Are
through.
they easy,
oh goodness.
or really low
They
maintenance?
go fast and they're easy.
What's the max height of these?
Temporarily take them out and.
The trees?
Yeah.
You don't have to cut
Yeah.
it out.
Feet's
See,
not that big.
my question was, if we
What
took
is-
this
What is the likelihood
and
that
moved it over here,
this
to
easement would ever
trees,
have to be digged up?
could we
The
do
likelihood.
that?
It's
There's
probably
never
pretty
a
rare,
chance
'cause
on
you're-
that.
I mean,
Well, you've got
Most
a
of
You
the
had
turn.
trees over the easement for the last.
We're not gonna
time.
maintain the trees, right? You're not gonna,
No, that's-
we're not gonna maintain the trees.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, you've got that diagram right there?
Yeah.
What I'm asking is, if we were to take the trees, and instead of starting here,
Yeah,
start closer to this road right here, so we were away from the easement.
He's talking about going.
you go on the other side of
Yeah,
it.
it's going.
Yeah, going the other,
Sure.
the other side
This
of
is the
it.
property line, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, but this is this is your property line right here. This is not your property right here.
I understand that, but what I'm asking is, could you do that? Is that an option?
Well, we're not
To
gonna
go-
maintain the trees.
I'm going to maintain the trees.
Can't he maintain them and?
But I'm gonna throw another question into this, and
Mhm.
I meant to raise this. In the revised plans, I don't know if you recall, we have the sidewalk that comes down and then turns into the side of the road along the edge there.
Right,
And now that's on both sides, and I thought when I saw it on the last version of the plan, this had something to do with the reduced radius of
Right,
that
yeah.
corner. But it doesn't appear to be, and that's something that, I don't know if this is a town preference here or what, but typically I don't like to see a sidewalk right up against the edge of the roadway.
yeah, what was that for again?
it's just right at the rounding, just to bring it in for the handicap ramp coming in.
But typically you'd have the
It's
sidewalk
something we can certainly pull away if the,
and have a little, you just have a little approach that
Yes,
goes,
we
yeah,
can certainly do that.
cause I don't,
I would recommend that too, I've seen cars.
It'll take the jog out of it.
over
Yeah,
the
it's
curb
basically
coming
just
in.
right at the intersection,
Okay.
it's taking the grass strip out is what it's doing.
Alright, so the sidewalk's back to normal, with an access ramp, I see what you're talking about on both sides. And then as far as the trees go, I see what he's saying on that, but you know what, you can put them in a straight line. So that's what we're trying to tell you, so you don't have to jog them and then over, you can actually put them in a straight line if you want.
But maybe I misunderstood. The highway department has a right to come in there and cut that tree down or a number of trees down if there's a problem with that easement drain.
Right,
Mhm.
And then they're not responsible for replacing
that's
those.
right.
Where
Unless-
if we were able to move those
In the
over
agreement
to
with
the
the-
left a little bit, we'd never have to have that worry.
Well, but
But then they're not on your property, so then,
we're not maintaining them.
but if he maintains them, you guys got some work to do, between the parties, figure that out.
Well, I guess, we attempted to do that, and, but until tonight,
Yeah,
really had no feedback after Friday night.
okay, so you got some time.
Well, let me stop you there, that's not entirely true. I responded to George and told him that this needs a number of modifications made to it before I sign it.
Right, and we didn't hear back,
So
so,
I don't think we're closing out the hearing tonight, so you guys get time.
And it
At
wasn't-
least that wasn't.
we, no, we had a verbal agreement on the trees. It was the agreement that
There's a
we
lot of
had
things.
between each other that I was gonna perform the work.
But
The
then that's saying
likely,
you can't have, that's not.
just-
there's trees going on the outside.
Well, whatever they want to do.
just for the,
40 feet, this is like 5
No, they're already there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's not changing the whole site.
One
Okay,
second.
put it in.
It's over a grand, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Wally, just for the record, what is the likelihood of
I think there's the
the
same type of
DPW ever
trees.
having to come in
That's why I
and
would
remove a few of the trees?
Well, they're kind of.
You know, probably not very likely, but, you know, that's, unfortunately, that's not our department, so I can't really answer that.
Right, but the likelihood, I mean, in general terms, is highly unlikely that they would have to dig up the drain. It is a risk, obviously, but this is something that is highly unlikely, right? And by the time the trees get to be, 25 feet tall and they get that expensive to replace, that's many years away, right? So I would,
So-
I think that I think we're arguing over something that's very small and.
I don't think you need to argue at all. I just think that between the parties, you gotta come up with something. I mean, we're all in favor. You gotta see the highway department anyway to get this done, so you get a little time, you get some roundings to square off on sidewalks. You got a landscape plan to submit. What else is left on this thing?
can we can't make those conditions of the decision?
I wasn't prepared to, myself, to make a decision tonight on this. I'm still just waiting for the final report.
It seems to me as if you think that if they offset the entire line onto public road or public way, that there won't ever be a chance of them cutting it down. And there still is a chance of them cutting it down, cause the easement goes right there. So that's not gonna change,
Or worse, a car coming up and
yeah,
slamming
it's
right
not gonna
into it.
change the
Yeah,
risk of them cutting down a tree.
If there's a very slim chance of that, then that's fine, you know?
Okay, we
Leaving it on
folks
your
can
property line?
work that out. Peter, what else we got for housekeeping items? Is it just-
Honestly, I believe George and I have an agreement.
Okay. What's left?
There's a lot of greenery other than trees that you can do a step down, that the greenery would be, 6 feet high. And the root system on those is nowhere near what a tree's root system is. I
Right.
mean, it's just, you're going to have
You just submitted those
something
plans
this high
tonight?
in a tree, but when you get further up, it's gonna go down like this. But it's still gonna be about a 6 foot high.
Right,
And, it's,
and that's certainly something that
Yeah.
I can work out
yeah,
formally with, I mean, we're agreeing that I'm gonna
The
provide
plans
the
really haven't
privacy
changed.
yeah.
down
be
that
quite
side, and I'll certainly
just
work it out
Yeah, I mean,
informally.
what's
There was
out
one
Wants
front,
to
number
do a hedge
changed in
for
the
that
plans,
area,
and
but
then
I don't
the
think again
sidewalks
there's
were-
gonna be an issue with the.
what is out front of that
grading didn't
property
change
right
'cause
now?
the
This
structure-
property
It
is that same thing, it just
The
don't-
plans haven't
don't
changed,
Get that high.
essentially.
Right,
They might go
Alright.
6 feet, we've had them.
Until,
Yeah.
until we got these additional requests.
Cover, you
Yeah.
can't see through them.
right, no,
So-
absolutely, they provide
I mean-
great cover.
When's, just thinking for the next meeting in 2 weeks, you guys can understand, we can approve this thing and get done, right? I mean, it's pretty fast track. How long, we just started this thing.
You're talking about an hour of my time, I mean, it's more.
Yeah. I mean, it's minor stuff.
So I wanna be clear, so we added the only thing that's on those plans was the correction from the last technical review memo. that was
One
made,
number.
Of one number, and the, addition of the landscaping plans. Excuse me, not the landscaping plans, but the sidewalk.
Sidewalk, and now we got a sidewalk kick,
Right, so,
back to straight.
Right.
Then we've got a landscape plan for the cul-de-sac.
right,
And then if you wanna modify whatever sheet it is that has this, whatever new landscape plan on it, I mean.
That landscape plan is
that's
That's not
separate,
in
cause
the
it's not
plans,
on your,
though.
it's not on the subdivision property, you
Right,
know?
okay.
So we're just gonna make condition there.
Sure.
if you'd like those trees added to the subdivision plan, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, that's a,
It's out of the-
you know, that's the place that you guys, I mean,
it's out
for
of-
the- you know, some kind of plan, just so everybody's got a page, I don't care if it's a separate sheet. And just submit it separately outside of it, but since we're talking about it, that's up to you.
Yep.
I mean, it's a condition, not really though. Okay, and then what's left?
That's it.
That's it, so you've gotta get a highway department approval, sidewalks, landscape plan, some kind of agreement, and plan with that. The traffic count, I think the board can accept that, that seems to be fine, and that was an interesting It was very easy to do, right? Just throw them out there. So yeah, it didn't be a full blown that. The roundings, I think that's the waiver on that one, and then,
I think
I think
technically
that
there were
was-
three waivers. The datum,
yeah,
The datum's not on here.
the roundings.
right.
It's on the
So
cover
when,
sheet.
Bob, when did we have this? Okay.
What was that?
When did this?
And technically, there's 4 waivers. Waiver from the strict compliance with
No,
the traffic.
Whitestone.
Oh, Whitestone, June 11th.
I didn't know if
Okay.
that could be waived.
But we can,
as a
you know,
procedure.
It's worded funny. It's thrown in as a note of caution, I guess.
I mean, it's been a pretty expedited, plan, I mean, it went pretty quick. Right, when did,
Well, I
what was
guess
the
it's
filing
all-
date?
It's all relative, we filed in January,
That's pretty quick. This is May.
I guess it's all relative.
They've been very quick meetings, or it's maybe we'd have had some of these items.
Let me just look at the calendar real quick here. So June,
How about
the
next week?
28th? I'm just, cause usually we skip, May 28th, is anybody, that's Memorial, day after Memorial Day?
Sure.
Everybody,
You wanna meet next week instead of, how about the 21st?
Is there any way we can meet the 21st?
I'm looking at the schedule here, that's what I'm asking the fellow board members.
21st?
I mean, I don't know what else we got in here. Typically, we don't meet week after week.
Yeah, no, I know, but the 28th, you've got a member that's not gonna be present.
Where are you
I
gonna be?
can't, I'm gonna be in Pennsylvania.
28th?
There's no way we can get
Alright.
a approval tonight with those conditions, those minor items as conditions, Wally?
Because you don't have half of them. I don't know, is it, you guys wanna meet the 21st?
It's fine with me.
Can you get everything on the
We'll
plan?
get it done,
Absolutely.
We'll get it done for you.
It's quick, yeah, I bet you guys got that stuff done tomorrow,
Yep.
You get it to me.
you know.
yeah, that would be the trick,
Alright, so you wanna set up for the 21st?
that'd be great,
You wanna come in earlier,
sure.
7:45? Okay. Let's set this up. Okay, motion to continue the hearing until,
Can I just
May
ask one
21st?
question?
Yeah,
The board, you were gonna give me some input for preparing the decision, will that be?
yeah, menu,
Will
yeah.
that be forthcoming?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, I can see if I can find that, email you that. Or just give you the boilerplate, probably if I email it the boilerplate,
That'd be good.
yeah, I can find that. Yeah. Okay, motion to, continue the hearing to May 21st at 7:45.
No motion.
Sorry.
All in favor, so go say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so vote unanimous, the meeting hearing continue. Okay, that's good.
Thank you for
Thank you.
being flexible and meeting with us next week.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. You got contracts to sign?
Two copies of the
Anyone?
sign.
Yeah, write it up.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep a copy?
Yeah, that'd be good, huh?
Yeah.
Trees over these. They are, but the trees over these.
All right. I'll,
I don't know, but I guess
follow up
we'll.
with email.
So we do it for this, like this?
Here,
if we get
so you have the
this
actual
final-
memorandum from us. for
Yep.
records.
What's that one?
That's just a summary from the engineer,
Oh,
in addition to the attorney's letter on the traffic.
here it is. This one's ours.
Yeah, I think it's actually.
So they're not, so they're not.
And Nina will get that.
Even the greater.
All right, Dave.
How do you like working for the town of Groveland? Good?
No, it's good.
There you go, this is our copy of the contract. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, so we get this, we get this, we get that. Anybody get anything else? Nope. Received a lot of mail for the record, Whitestone's coming in June, so this will be quick. Get posted now.
Are there anyone else that we should invite to the June 11th on the jog Roger and Whitestone traffic?
The entire Whitestone group.
Well, yes, no, they're coming. Should we ask the police chief to be here or a representative from the police?
Well, I don't think so, because that'll get kind of muddy, but because it appears that the management company and the homeowners are the ones that aren't aware of what this means. And I just loved your comment when you saw some of the things that you don't really have to, so. And so, I think it's kind of be like a wake-up call, like, I wanna find out, did you know, and I would love to get the residents and the board, present, and have the residents tell us what the board and the management company has told them, and why they weren't so clear. And maybe they were clear, I don't know, but, and also find out what's the problem by not reading the signs.
I personally know a few of the residents there, they belong to the American Legion with me, but
Yeah,
they have gone to the police and found out that there's nothing the police can do, and so I know we have to resolve it with management at Whitestone.
yeah,
But we might need some backup later on from the police or whatever.
well, we'll see what they can do, you know, to help us out with that, but, you know what, I mean, the planning board can, I mean, at that point, we go and we say, okay, if you can't police your own, and if our local PD doesn't wanna do it, then we will just simply barricade with a gate. Emergency gate only, and you're done. So, we can give them an option with a trial period for the summer, that if you can't get this traffic under control, come September 1, the gate goes up, and you're done. So you gotta find a way to tell everybody that, you know, this is business, and sorry that nobody read their documents, or it wasn't explained. And turnover probably doesn't help.
I emailed the copy of the meeting to Bob Lay, who is
Yeah.
the lead person,
Right,
and someone should probably contact him to ask him, or maybe he already has, the other residents on Georgia Street to be here.
yeah, let me see if I can, actually bring that up. He's under Robert, isn't he? Nope, I don't have him there. Let me see. I can find this now.
I know my email didn't bounce back, but I don't know if he got it. Really.
Checking, searching, there we are. Whitestone Village, what is it? It's, June 11th. Hello, Bob, can you make sure that the residents of Georgia Street are present at the June 11th Whitestone Village meeting hearing
7:30.
at 7:30? Thank you, Wally, planning board. Sent.
Should I post the meeting to start at 7 for us to talk?
You got them coming in right at 7:30?
That's the only time I could negotiate with them.
Then do 7:15 for us,
Okay.
and then,
Princess June 11th.
okay. That's sent. Done.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Yes,
Motion to adjourn. 8:45.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the vote unanimous for the meeting adjourned.